I welcome you all in the session, and topic of this session is project cycle. And project is basically a investment activity with the objective to achieve some predetermined goals, and actually we achieve this predetermined goal by implementing some projects of some pre-designed activity of projects. We want to achieve some goal of the development of the improving the economic condition, or the project of getting some production to get some extra income to improve our socio-economic conditions. So these are the different objectives. For that, achieving that objectives, we implement different type of project. And when we implement a project has to go through different cycles, through different stages, through the different phases. So we are going to discuss about the different phases through which a project passes. Starting from identification, preparation of the project, and the appraisal by the lending organization, the implementation, the monitoring and evaluation. These are the different stages through which a project passes through. And here, a project passes through a number of phases, and each phases not only grow out of the preceding ones but also lead to the subsequent ones. So it is a natural cycle actually. So when we complete a cycle or a phase, automatically a new phase will appear, and we have to work in the new phase. So the new phase appear from the preceding phase, and project is essentially a self-regenerative cycle, so that a new projects emanate from the old one in a continuous manner. When we complete the one project, automatically it generates automatically new project emerges based on the experiences, based on the output of the old project which we have implemented in the areas. And these are the different phases of the project cycles, like identification, preparation and analysis of the project, then appraisal, implementation, monitoring and evaluation. So these are the 6 stages through which a project passes, and in this session we are going to discuss about these different 6 phases. And first phase is the identification. Actually, the project preparation start with generating a broad project ideas in a project concept. It is not a fully outlined or written document. Initially, a people, a government agencies or authority, they simply generate some ideas, the project ideas in their mind, that what should be the ideal conditions in the areas or in the areas which are under our control, and or a organization, what should be our positions, so and how we can do, what are the different resources required. So they simply generate some project concept, project idea, and in order to realize that project ideas or project concept, we start the project preparation stage. And in that, the first stage is the identification. And this identification phase, the main objective is to find out the potential projects which we can, or a organization, a government or agencies, a development agency, which can implement in the areas to achieve some targeted objectives, to help some targeted peoples, to help the targeted beneficiary. So in the identification phase, objective is to find some potential project through which we can improve our socio-economic condition. So in the identification process, basically we delineate the main outline of the project, we delineate the broad structure of the project. Actually, we develop the what are the different types of managed capacities we have, what are the different institutions required, what type of different inputs will be required, what will be the project output. So it is basically delineation of the main outline of the project in the identification stage. And in the identification stage, basically we establish the overall viability of the project proposals, so whether the project concept or project idea is viable or not. That also we do in the identification process. And from where we get the information about the potential project for a particular region, for a particular country, a particular society. So here there are some technical experts. They know about the situation, what are the things we can implement in the particular area like plant breeders, they know about what type of varieties or particular crop is required for a particular area. So or local leader, they can help us by telling us or by expressing the problems in the local area, and they can also explain the possible the solution to the problem. So from them we can get the idea about the projects. And then existing project also help, what are different projects which have already implemented in the areas. From them we can get the informations about the new process or new project or new project or some modified projects based, so we can get the information about the existing project. And then economic development plans of country and states also give information about the what kind of the projects are required, what are the projects need to be developed in the areas. So if the economic development plans is more focusing on the agriculture, so we can develop the new agriculture project. And if the economic plan focuses on the industries, the new project can be developed on the industrial development. So from the economic plan or the government plan, we can have some ideas about the projects. Then sector survey of the current situation, like in case of agriculture sector, we can do some survey. For livestock sector we can do some surveys, for fishery sector also we can do some survey, and from the survey we can find out what are the actual problem in the areas, what are the major concerns in development of that particular sectors, and what are the possibilities or potential is there in the areas for a particular sector. So from the sector survey also we get the information. Special development programs, also we can get the information about the projects concept, or we can have the a list of the project actually based on this informations, source of information. Then there we have to follow a different steps while identifying a project, so there are a number of steps involved in the identification process. The first stage is the step is the evaluation of the present situation. So what is the present position of the a particular locality, what are the employment conditions, what is the income distribution there, what are the livelihood sources are there, whether they have sufficient food available with them or them, what is the productivity of the land. So by evaluating the present situation, this is the first step. Actually we have to evaluate the present situation. Then we have to identify the relevant issues which can help in the resolving of the problem of the particular areas. Then we have to establish the project rationale, why we want to implement a project. So here this project rationale also help us in giving the justification to the donor agencies that these are the objectives we want to achieve out of that project. So identification of project rationale is very much important. And then developing the project design and concept. And project design and concept is basically, we have to draw the broad design of the project, like what are the different inputs or resources are required, manpower required, and what will be the output from the project. So we have to develop the broad project designs, which institution will help in implementing the projects, and from where we will get the financial resources. All these aspects and broad aspects are prepared here. And then we have to also decide about the project skills, whether this project will be implemented in a particular village or in a district, or at state level or at the national level. So we have to decide, we have to set the project skills, or we can say complete total 100% population or particular communities, or only for backward communities, or particular type of women or men, both, or particularly for the children or women. So we have to set the project scales here. And then we have to also have preliminary estimates of the cost and benefits from the project, input cost, the machinery cost, the financial resources required, and then what will be the benefits. So we have to have a preliminary studies about the cost and benefit. Then we have to also propose the the organization and management structures which are required, which institutions will be required, whether we have to develop the new authority for project implementation, or whether the existing available authorities or administrative setup is sufficient to implement the project, and who will head, what type of the persons are required to head that projects, and who will be the different peoples or different skills required to implement the projects. And we have to also spell out the further requirement for project, from where we have to get additional information, from where we will get some construction materials, so all the details related to preliminaries, things we have to do in the identification stage. And the second stage is the preparation and analysis of the project actually. And this is stage basically we prepare the detailed project, detailed project report, and all the aspects actually we have to consider. So like social aspect, the technical aspect, the financial aspect, the commercial aspect, and all these aspects need to be considered while preparing the project. So in the second stage, all these aspects, all the study we need to do, and then only we can prepare a good project proposal. And in basically in this stage basically we do the feasibility studies for the project viabilities, for input output relation we have to do some marketing studies also here. We have to see the commercial aspect also there, commercial viability is there, the financial viability is there or not, the physical viability is there or not. So all types of the analysis we do here. Detailed planning of the project we do. So in this stage we do the soil survey, hydrological survey we can do, the cropping pattern we can analysis in the area, the detailed farm project can be prepared in this stage. So all type of studies or designing basically we do here. Or sometimes it may take 1 to 2 years in case of agriculture project, or it is quite expensive stage actually, phase of the project preparations. And here is basically sometimes time taken in the preparing the good project or investment in done the preparation phase is give good result. Actually it helps us in implementing project in the efficient way, or also it helps us in the smooth implementation of the project. So even sometimes we need to have planning of the how we will be preparing the project, that also we need to do. The next stage is the appraisal stage. Actually after the identification of the project, after preparing a detailed proposal, in the second stage we need to go for appraisal stage. And in basically this activity is done by the lending institution or aid donor agencies. Actually they do appraise of the project proposals, and and sometimes at the local level also, or the domestic agencies also, they undertake the own appraisal simultaneously. To the purpose of this is that whether the developed new proposal is a feasible project, is a viable project, it will achieve the desired objectives or not. So such type of appraisal things is very much required. And sometimes in independent appraisal of the proposal, a project proposal is undertaken, and independent agency is identified, and then they do the appraisal of the project. And if the agencies, the lending agency, the donor agencies, or the government fund, the proposal is sound enough, the proposal is the worthwhile, then only they take the decision on the investment, then only the investment may proceed. So this is very much important, and before implementing the project we need to have the appraisal. And if there is some serious flaws, if there is some serious lacuna is there in the project proposal, we need to analyze, or analyst need to alter the plan of the work of the proposal, and or sometimes we need to develop the new plan or new proposal for the projects. And sometimes the world banks, they send separate missions to appraise the proposed proposal. If we are getting funding from the world banks, they will send their team to appraise the project, whether this project is done or can be done in the area or not. And why this appraisal is required? Actually, the appraisal is required to see the major assumption in the project are correct or realistic. Sometimes the assumption like there is a low productivity of a particular crop in an area. So whether productivity is low or not, whether the resources are developed or not, whether the market is available for the project output is there or not. So they, through the appraisal process, they assess the different parameters of the or different assumptions whether they are correct or not. That is the things. Then the project has satisfactory economic rate of return. So through the appraisal, the lending agency, they judge whether the project has a satisfactory economic rate of returns. And in this through the appraisal process, they evaluate the donor client relationship related to financial package, but that is how much the sharing of the different, and how much the government will sanctions, then how much state will has to incorporate, how much the beneficiary has to incorporate in the cost, and how the benefit will be shared among the different participation, different participant. The condition of disbursement also has to be finalized, and the procurement process has to be finalized. So and then the issues related to loan negotiation, what will be the interest rate, how much will be the repayment period. So all these things are appraised in the appraisal stage. Next stage is the implementation, and this is the very crucial stage. Actually, it's the most important stage of the project cycle. And actually, the better and more realistic project plan is there, then we have the more likely chance to that plan can be carried out, and the expected results or expected benefits can be realized. So if we are developing there is a project proposal is more realistic, we are having more chances of getting the employed, getting implemented the project, getting the output from the project. So here in implementation aspect, another aspect is that we should have the flexible approach to be adopted in the implementation of the project. When we implement the project, we found different types of situation. There is changes in the situation, so there is also required. We should have flexible approach in the project implementation. And why flexible approach is required in the project implementation? Because circumstances change from time to time. The socio-economic conditions change sometimes, the parameters of the employment change sometimes, the consumption habit of the clientele group change sometimes. So availability of the resources change sometimes, because agriculture is the biological science. Sometimes new pest emerge in this locality, sometimes there is no rainfall, so circumstance changes. So that why we need to have flexible approach in the while implementing the project. So the project manager should react intelligently to such changes. Actually, he should take the decision in very intellectual way by considering all the parameters of the project implementation. So actually, when we implement the project, we get the more actual response from the target beneficiary, from the project side. So when we are implementing a projects in agriculture sector, we are able to know more about the soil or their response to the nitrogen applications. Then if the soil is not responding to the nitrogen application, then we need to develop different strategy, whether the new variety is susceptible to the water logging. So based on their decisions, we can take from the actual field we can observe, and then we can implement the different strategies, changing the technical coefficients, sometimes changing the cropping patterns and adjustment in the inputs, that is also there after implementing the project. So changing the economic and political environmental as sometimes the political parties who are governing the government may change over the period of time. So in such situation, the project manager should be intelligent enough to change his decisions and to take the new decisions to achieve the targeted objective of the project. So implementation, actually the implementation process is the process of refinement or process of learning from the experiences. So based on the experiences, we need to change our decision also. And there are three different period in the implementation cycle. One is the investment period, another is the development period, third is the project life. So in the investment period, it is in this stage actually we make major investment here. Sometimes it may take 3 to 5 years based on the nature of the project. So major investment activity is done in the investment period. Then we have the development period. So this period basically begin with the start of the productions. Maybe in agriculture products we can say the 3 to 5 years, and this duration basically depend on the nature of the physical inputs and rate of the adoption of animal rate of adoption of the new technology by farmers. Like if a project is to introducing the new breed of the animals, we can say the production will start after 3 to 5 years. So in case of tree is there, it may change, it may further extend. So, and the third stage or third part is the project life. The life of the projects basically depend on the normal life of the major assets that project has created. Sometime like we have project on the introducing the tractor. So tractor has the life of 10 years to 15 years. So we can say the project life is 10 years to 15 years. Or if we are building a new dam or canal project, we can say the life is 30 to 50 years. So based on the life of the major assets which we have created, we can decide, we can say the project life. Then monitoring is the next stage, and here actually this is basically a timely collection and analysis of the data on the progress of the project, and this monitoring is highly desirable. If projects fail in time schedule or in process of attaining the set goals, we need to do proper monitoring of the projects. And actually in the monitoring process we identify the constraints which impede the successful implementation. So if when we are implementing a project, we identify the different concerns which are impeding the implementation of the project. So different sometimes the availability of the raw material is not there. So through monitoring only we can find the problem, and we can take decision to make available the inputs required for the projects. And it is done continuously to offset the shortcomings that come up from time to time during the implementation stage. And the last stage is the evaluation stage, and this is the last phase. And actually this evaluation is done in several times during the life of the project. Actually it start from the project identification to last evaluation stage. Into every stage we do some kind of evaluation of the project, and actually in the evaluation actually we analyze the elements of success and failure of the project. So basically we do the analysis how much success we achieved in the project implementation and what are the different failures are there in the project. So there are different circumstances which says for the project evaluations. And when the project is in the trouble, we need to have evaluation of the project. While planning a follow-up new projects, then we have to do some evaluation of the already executed project. Then and when the project is terminated and the project is closed, then also we need to do the evaluation of the projects. And sometimes when the project is in the routine operation, we also need to do the evaluation of the projects. So there are three stages in the project evaluation, three phases we can say in the project evaluation. One is the mid-course evaluations or pre-project evaluations, and it is done at the very beginning of the project. Here we assess the economic feasibility of the project. So in the initial stage, in the project preparation stage also, we need to do evaluation to assess the economic viability of the project, economic feasibility of project. Then we have to do concurrent evaluations. This is done during the execution stage and meant to identify or analyze the pitfalls. If there is any shortcoming is there, shortfalls is there, we need to identify by doing the evaluation of that stage. And then ex-post evaluation is also there. So it is done for the completed project to assess the achievement of the project. So it is very much required when project is already implemented. We need to assess, we need to evaluate the project's achievements, project shortcomings. And there are different agencies who done the project evaluations, like we have the project management during the project implementation stage. So during the project implementation, the project management, they also do the project evaluation. Then the ministries, the concerned ministries like Ministry of Agriculture in case of the agriculture project, the planning bodies, the external agencies, they also do the evaluations. Actually, they always want to judge how much we have achieved, how much objective we have achieved, what are the different problems in a particular type of the projects, what should be the new projects from the existing projects. So they generate idea also. And the large projects, they have the evaluation unit also, and that particular evaluation unit, they do the project analysis, project evaluation. And sponsoring agency like donor agencies, sometimes they engage the outside agencies, independent evaluators to assess the project performance after the implementation of the projects. And so sponsoring agency, they also do. And one of the criteria in the evaluation, one of the criteria is that extent to which the objectives set have been achieved. So in the evaluation stage, basically we want to judge, we want to assess, or the donor want to assess that the how much objectives we are able to realize by implementing a particular project. So here targeted objective or achieved objectives, we do the analysis in the evaluation stage. Now we can sum up this session. And a project is passes through a number of the stages, and each phase grows out of the preceding one and also lead to the subsequent one. And the project cycle is basically a self-renewing cycle, so that the new projects emanate from the old one. And we have different phases of the project cycles in the project preparation cycle, like the identifications, the preparation and analysis is the second, and then appraisal by the donor agency or aid agencies, or the implementation by actual execution of the project in the field, and the monitoring to monitor the progress of the project, and lastly the evaluations to assess the performance of the project. So these are the different stages in the project cycle. And the following project cycle help in the developing an appropriate projects, new project. The feasible implementation also it help in the case of new project. The analysis or evaluation of the old project, it help in the feasible implementation of the new project, or sometimes reformulation of the new project, generating new project out of the old project experience. So these are the different benefits when we do the evaluations. So these are the 6 stages when we develop a new project. So every project has to pass through these 6 stages of the project formulation process. Thank you very much.